Good morning, good afternoon to each and everybody. God is asking me, I could be real. This ain't my type of thing, but I have to be obedient. The Lord is asking me to come on and speak on my testimony. My testimony is my life was hard, I must say. It was hard. I can remember growing up as a child, I couldn't find food to eat, you know. My mother had me when she was young, when things was hard. And I can remember as a child, 5 year old, just couldn't find food to eat. 5 year old, and I could remember can't find food, you know. But like I said, my mother had me when she was like 15, so that was a task, you know. But as I know myself as growing up, I always had to try to survive, you know. So I grew up a very, very hard life. I had to survive. It was not easy out on these streets, you know. So as I was growing up as a child, I lived with my mother for a little while, and then I had to go and live with my Grammy. So basically, I grew up around my Grammy growing up as a child, and I just any means necessary to find food, I had to find food. You know what I mean? And so that's the way I was growing up, trying to always find food. And as I was growing up as a child, I can remember from cause I got put at my mother's house, cause my stepdaddy never did like me. I got put at my mother's house when I was 7, and I went to live with my Grammy. And living with my Grammy, and nobody was there to check for me either, so I always was in the street all about, up and down, moving around as a little child, moving all about, you know what I mean? But And I could always remember, like, food was a problem. That was always my problem in my life, like just finding food, you know what I mean? But I just, like, growing up now, and as I think about it, I could remember some of the things, you know what I mean? And, like, if you can't find food, you can imagine clothes, you know what I mean? But I always found myself growing up being all on the streets, like, as a child, up and down from one house to the next, and going here and going there, and all about, and moving around. And like when they come home, they always had to look for me. I was always somewhere by the neighbor or somewhere, always dirty, no shoes on my feet, and I just like it was normal to me, you know what I mean? And I never know why. As I was growing up, it was normal, just was my life, you know. And as I get older, I decided I wanted teens. And growing up, I always used to, when I get older, like when I get about around 13, 14, I used to thief a lot. There was no other thing for me to do. I had to thief. It was hard. Nobody checking for me. My Grammy was doing the thing. My sisters, my aunties, everybody, but not my sister. My auntie was doing their thing. My uncle was doing their own thing. So it was just nobody there to take care of me like that. So any means necessary to find money. You couldn't put down nothing around me. I used to that get that gone. You might as well say that gone. That get thief. I carry that. I hide that. I gotta keep that for me. If it's money, anything valuable, I just used to thief it. But I realized as I was growing up that was not me. I never did like doing it because it always used to get you into trouble. But I had nothing else. I had no other means of getting what I needed, so I had to thief it. You know what I mean? When they put down the rent money for the house, I thief that. They thief that. I just used to thief, but when I thief, I used to hide it because I know I was gonna need it later, and I used to have to buy like things that I needed for me with the money. But I always used to get beaten because they started to realize like I like the thief, you know. And that's no joking. Oh Lord, don't play though. He's serious, you know what I mean? And like this ain't my thing, talking ain't my thing because I know myself for being a gangster, and for me to talk these things is hard, you know what I mean? But the Lord say, how do? I have to do it for him. I have to speak because he want me to speak. So I have to do it to be obedient. You know what I mean? And so, and as I say in the end, and I started to go to school. Like when I found myself going to primary school, I never wanted to go there because I find myself as a young person never to like people. Like I never used to want to be around people. You know what I mean? And that was like something I was really into, like people. As in primary school, I thought more I never like people, but I grown into it. You know, after a while. But I know something when I was in primary school, I find myself liking music and certain things I used to like to do. You know what I mean? I like music and playing the guitar, the drums and dance at the steel band. I used to like doing those stuff. But when I get into high school, like all that gone away, I start getting into really some really serious things, like taking everybody things. Like I just was like a gangster then. Like you couldn't play with me. You walk on my shoes, I ready to beat you. Like and I take so many people lunch money and thing when you come in the bathroom, me one in the bathroom and I robbing you and I taking your things because I like I say the life I grew up I never had it, so I had to take what I wanted. So that's what I did most of my life growing up. And it's like nobody could have played with me and I didn't need nobody to be with me to do these things. I was gangstering all alone, you know what I mean? And oh, and one thing I remember when I reached like in grade six, not grade five. When I was still in primary school, I remember this now. When I was in primary school, I always used to have a gun on me. I used to sit in classroom with a gun in my pocket. You know, growing up as I grew up in primary school, like going in grade five and six and like that, I always used to sit. I always come to school with gun. I always had gun. Gun was always something I grew up with in my life. I grew up with guns. I must tell you that. And when I got to high school, like I was saying, I it's unruly. You couldn't put down everything the senior master put in the room what he used to have. Like I used to take it. I used to jump over the there's a piece in the class in the room where it used to be. I used to jump over and jump and go on his desk and take everything out of it and all the money and everything. I just used to be into them type of things, and I used to need things, you know what I mean. And so that's how I used to get stuff. I used to have to take it, you know what I mean. And but as I grow old, I get bored and I got bored and I got bored. I had no respect for nobody, and you couldn't tell me anything because I never had no one to grow me up to show me how to have respect. So my respect was being unruly to people. Not to say being ruly, but I used to be like nice in a good way, but you never used to know my ways because even though I used to be unruly, I was still quiet. You know what I mean? I still was more humble, but you had to really like get to know me to know who I was because you couldn't tell me for who I was because I was quiet. You know what I mean? But I was a person that don't play around. You know what I mean? I didn't need no one to fight for my battles for me. I take you on my own. I don't care how much you all is. I can take you all on. You know what I mean? And in a quiet way, in a sneaky way also. And if you play with me, when I used to grow up and you play with me, I didn't have to run on with you right then and then. I wait till I catch you all alone, you know what I mean? That's the type of person I is. I pull up on you by myself and I ready to deal with you. So that's how I used to deal with people. Like, don't think that you could play with me and get away with it. I can come for you when you last expect and then expecting it, and that's how I used to roll, you know what I mean? And as I go through high school, I started off with a lot of people always respect me because of who I was. I never used to talk. I just deal with you, and people always used to be around me. And I had a lot of girlfriends in school because I don't know, it's something they see on me. I never was a weird person, so I had a lot of girls, and that was something was in my thing growing up. A lot of girls, you know what I mean? But and as I get out of school, oh Lord, Jesus help me, Father. I must say, it got worse. I got into robbing, I got into thieving, I got into, listen, my God, I got into plenty stuff. I got into robbing, thieving, I doing everything. You couldn't, like I was so good on robbing, like I could rob you and nothing come out of that. And I know how to hide and sneak and get you and do stuff, and that was my life. You know what I mean? But one thing I noticed as I was growing up at that time, like sometimes I used to wonder, like, if this my life, I would grow up for this. You know what I mean? Like sometimes I used to think and I used to sit and I used to cry and I used to be asking God, like, God, why I growing up like this? Why it's so hard? Why I going through this? I used to question God when I was growing up, you know what I mean? but it used to just blow off after a while, you know what I mean? I had a lot of things going wrong with my life as I was growing up, you know what I mean? And the story is going to be all about, because I really have to like think about situation and stuff that as I go on, you know what I mean? And I have to think, so you got to understand with that, you know what I mean? And as I come out of school, I as I come out of school, because I got kicked out of school in the 11th grade because I wasn't listening. I wasn't ruling. You couldn't tell me anything. I was disrespectful. Like I could be real. I don't care who you is, how high you is, how big you is. Like I had no respect for you, especially if you don't give me respect. I give you none. But if you respect me, I respect you. You know what I mean? And that's my mentality. I don't care who you is. You could not disrespect me. I could have been you could have been a giant to me, and I could have been a little short boy. You had to respect me, and that's how I was. You know what I mean? And as I come out of school, I I used to thief vehicles. I thief a lot of cars. I used to thief cars. I used to do this. Man, listen, you couldn't put down a car for me. I'd go on, I'd disappear, and you know what I mean. And like I was good on these things. You know what I mean? And that's how I used to make money as I get older and come out of school. When I came out of school, my first car I bought when I was 19, you know what I mean? I still supposed to be in the school, but I got kicked out of the 11th grade. I bought my first car off the lot when I was 19. I paid 16,000 for that, because guess what? As I started to get older, I used to be in the money. Like I used to be in the money. Like going to school, like in the 11 and 12 grade, I used to have like $1,000 in my pocket, like $900, like this in my pocket. You know, one know these things, but that's what I was into. You know what I mean? Like money wasn't a problem. You see, I used to be into getting money. I was into getting money. I started to know a lot of gangsters. I started to know a lot of thieves. I started to know a lot of robbers. You know what I mean? And so we used to be getting money together, and there was always a lot of money. So I started to like try to find things to do with the money, and I bought a car, and I bought the car off the lot. I didn't even the first car. That must even like the third car or the fourth car, because I took a lot of vehicles. Like we used to do we used to buy an old car, and then we used to thief a new car to it and switch everything over. You see what I say? So that's what we was into as I was growing up. And my first brand new car I bought off the lot when I was 19, and listen, when I bought that, it was a standard shift green Honda. Listen, and I used to terrorize, buddy. And even though, like, I remember as I was growing up in school and thing, I used to have people selling drugs to me. Like, big man used to sell drugs to me. Like, as a school person, I used to have big man selling drugs to me. And I used to have to pull up on them and collect my money. You 40 and you working for me, and I only, like, 18, 19, and like it's working for me, you know what I mean? And that's what I was into, because what happened to me is as I grow as a child, I grow doing my own thing. So when I supposed to be 12, I was like then 19. You see what I'm saying? Because I had to understand life more faster, because I had to do my own thing. I had to learn a lot. I had to pick up on things a lot. I had to learn quickly. It was quick learning, you know what I mean? But getting an education was out of my, that's why I talk the way I talk. The education was out the door, because it was more trying to find money and find things, find food, try to eat. Family was poor. Here no one get this, here no one get that, you know, and it was rough. So I had to try to survive for my brothers and sisters with my mother had, you know what I mean? She had 5 more children, because like I say, she had me when she was like 15, so you can imagine 15-year-old woman having a child. So it's like me in her life was like like she's still a child, you know what I mean? And so she ain't really into no children. So like I say, I grew up with my grandmother, and I had to survive, and I had to do what I had to do in life. But I noticed when I was doing it, I did not like it. You know what I mean? And like I used to sometimes cry and ask God, like I used to talk to God as a child, like why it's like this. Because how I get to know God as a child, my daddy was always into God. I had a father, he always said love God. I used to hear gospel music. I used to hear a lot of talking about God. So I used to try to talk to God to him as I get older also, you know. And I was asking God, why it's like this, why it's so hard, why I grow up like this, what's going on in my life, God. I don't like what I'm doing. I don't like the way I grown up. I don't feel like this is my life. I should not have been born into this. And I used to be crying to God as a young child. Like I started to figure out some things, but it used to get kicked out the door after a while. Like I say, I go back into what I was doing, you know what I mean? And and listen, I always was in the woman. I started to see, I don't know, my daddy was in the woman. He used to have a lot of women. You know what I mean? But my daddy is gone now, you know, but My daddy must see in the woman. My mother was having children when she was young, so it probably, like you say, it is fall upon the children, is what I mean. And so I used to have a lot of women. And when I was, like, when I said it, I find it cars and I had things, I find myself not coming home anymore because I used to be from one woman house to the next woman house, and I used to be up and down. I used to be all about, you know what I mean? And coming home was the last thing on my line of coming home, and I started to prowl and go about and move around and take people things and rob people of what they have, and I just used to do it all, and I was into it all. Anything what you wanted, you could come to me. I could get that in the space of a second. I don't care what you needed. I could get it. I could make a phone call. I could go and get it. It could happen. What you needed, anything you needed off the streets, I could go and get it for you. That was my thing. You know what I mean? And I enjoy doing that. But I have no other choice, you know what I mean? And that's how come I always to have money and get money and do what I needed to do. But me doing all of this, me doing all of this and talking all of this, like my family them never know these things because it never, I never came home and let them see what I was into. I always be myself. I have $1,000 in my pocket. Nobody knows, you know what I mean? And like my mother never know these things. My uncle, no, none of them, they never notice these things because I always be something else when I come home. I act like how I supposed to act. I be who I supposed to be when I home, or when I out on the streets. I'm totally something different. And that's what you need to understand about your children. Your child be who he wanna be. When he come home, when he go out there, he's somebody else. Like you couldn't play with me. I will what? I will eat you. I will eat you. Remember they saying I will eat you. I don't care who you is. If I cannot beat you right then and then, I will sneak you and beat you. I will sleep on your doorstep. I will do what I have to do to get you. If it take me 8 to 9 to 10 years to get you, I will get you. And that was my life. You could not play with me. Nobody. I sell you anything. You could not swing me. If you think you can swing me, you in trouble. Trust me, if I sell you something you don't want to pay me, I take my part back and still make you pay me. These the type of things I used to be into, and I still sitting around you. I still having fun with you. I still chilling out with you, and I know I don't even like you because you then swing me. I doing everything with you, and in my mind is telling me you was the old dirty stinking dog. You ain't made me no good, but yet I still talking to you like everything is cool. And listen, these the things I used to be into. You know what I mean? And but I still used to find myself not trying to be who I want, but I was made into what I was, like the life I live. I was made to be that person, something I never wanted to be, because I always used to find myself thinking about who I is and why am I doing these things. You know what I mean? And I keep moving and doing things, and I had a lot of friends who was into robbing and thieving, and we used to go out and we used to party and we used to get drunk, and I used to drink a lot of Hennessy. I used to listen. You know what I can do? I can stop this right here and I can come back. I can need y'all to subscribe with some more deals and for me to get like because the Lord has asked me to speak my testimony. I know it's long because I have a lot of things I did. Y'all subscribe to me. I have more testimony and what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna come back with more. You know what I mean? Because I have a lot to talk about. I don't want to kill the time like that, like long and long. But I'm just subscribe to my channel now, and I'm gonna try and come back and bring more. You know what I mean? And if God allow me to speak, I'm gonna speak, and I'm gonna do some things. I'm not gonna hold back. I still laughing because the things that I did, it wasn't easy. You know, I had to survive. But I want y'all to just subscribe to my channel. I can start and speak more because the Lord asked me to speak and He changed me so I'm about to get into where he bring me from and for who I is. Some people talk about me. I listen to a lot of people subscribing and they speak to me. A lot of people speak to me because guess what? I just want a God soldier. I doing things with the Lord, right? And I in this camp, I in this army. He rising up some soldiers, and I is one of them. And that's the way I am. That's why I speaking for the Lord, and I can carry the testimony to where it's gonna end, where you will be like, by God, with this nigga. So y'all gonna understand. Y'all be blessed, be encouraged, and I can send this out. And y'all subscribe so y'all can get more. Y'all gonna love it. Remember, I tell you that y'all be blessed and be encouraged.